This is Genshin Impact, and this is a gacha game. And the way these games work is that they're essentially gambling games. Except in gambling, you can actually win. And you can actually win money, something of value. In these games, there's no money to win. There's nothing that you can really reasonably trade for. There's nothing physical that you're getting out of them. Instead, you're able to unlock, and it depends per game. Like some games, what you unlock is a card, like Magic the Gathering card. In other games, what you unlock is a character, like a playable character, like in Genshin Impact. In other games, what you unlock is maybe some of them have like inventory that you can unlock, like weapons and stuff like that. And these are actual gameplay mechanics that you gain access to by paying money. Now, these games are usually free to play, and what that means is that you can. I think the term "free to start" is more appropriate, but yeah, free to play. You can start playing for free, but you're going to quickly run into limits. Like people that start paying money, they can get theoretically unlimited gacha pulls, and a gacha pull is essentially a round of gambling. Think of it as a slot machine. In a slot machine, you pull on the lever, right? And when you pull on it, you can start the process of lining up the slots. So whenever you gamble in this game, they call it a pull, right? So think of it like a loot box. So whenever you're purchasing one loot box, that's one pull, right? And you may get lucky with the loot box, and you may have something you actually want in it, like a 5-star, really rare, super capable character, or you may get very unlucky and get a bunch of 1-star crap that nobody cares about. And obviously, the problem with these games is that they make money by getting you to spend. They don't want everybody to stay free to play, because then they'll make no money off of you. They make money by getting you to purchase these loot boxes, to do these gacha pulls, so you can get these characters or these weapons or these trading cards or whatever. Not even trading cards, because you can't even trade the cards in a game like Hearthstone. And so they're a big problem because they exploit the brain's inclination towards novelty, towards seeing what's out there. When we were at living in the outdoors, in the wilds, right? Like, our brains would favor novel experiences. They still do. They still work exactly the same way. So you have this inclination to go out there into the forest and explore what's out there. Why? So you can find new things, like new food sources, new water sources, new areas that may provide shelter. Like you may discover a cave, right? All these sorts of things. You may discover where the animals are, in the direction that the animals that you hunt perhaps are migrating to, right? There's plenty to discover when you go out there and explore. And so the brain kind of leans towards this discovery process, this looking for things, looking for what's out there. And when you find something, you get essentially your brain rewards you. You get a dopamine hit and you go, oh, I found something. What's that over there? Is that a shiny thing? What is this? Is this a shiny rock? Is this some sort of gem or something? Right? Is this valuable? And when you find out that it's valuable, you feel even better about yourself, right? And sometimes you find something and you think you found something and you're like, digging under the ground or something. You think there's something there and then you just find crap, right? Or you're fishing for something and you think you got a fish and it's just a boot, right? And so it's like, oh man. And so these gacha games are designed to exploit that. And so because they make money by getting you to gamble and continue gambling and keep gambling some more, they're designed, just like casinos, to make you lose a lot more than you win. A lot more. Because they realize that if you lose, let's say it this way. They realize that if you win and you get what you want, like let's say there's 2 characters that you want. You need to complete your, you're trying to complete a deck, right? A playing card deck. And you only need these 2 super rare cards. And you do a pull and you get both cards. Oh, now you don't need to spend anymore. You got everything you wanted. Your whole deck is complete. Now you can go out there and play and kick everybody's butt, right? So they want you to be in the state of, I constantly need more. And the way to do that is by making sure that the stuff that's really good, that people really value, is really rare. Like I'm talking about like the drop rates can be like 0 point, like less than 1%. So it's a very exploitive system and people can become very addicted. As a result, there's a lot of people out there that don't like gacha games. So I think they're going to be very happy with these news. And what I'm talking about here is this article right here from Automaton Media. Japan's gacha game industry in a sinking Titanic phase, developer says. Switching to console game development, not an easy solution for many. A lot of people want these types of mobile games, these type of what they believe are predatory games, to go out of business because they think that they're a cancer, right? And they're very harmful to people. And I agree, some of them really are very harmful, just like gambling, and very exploitive. There's a concept called the whale, and the whale is a player that spends a lot of money on a lot of pools. And I mean a lot of money. I'm talking about thousands of dollars or more, maybe tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands, right? And these whales can spend so much money that they are actually a significant part of the profit that these companies make. And so the games are optimized to get these people to spend. And they do that by targeting these people. They can tell which are the people that are vulnerable towards this compulsive spending, this compulsive gambling. And they'll send them notifications on their phone because they identified that they're a habitual gambler, right? They'll give them discounts just to get them. They'll notice, like, just to get them to spend. They'll notice, like, oh, you haven't, this person hasn't spent money in a while. We need to give them some sort of like big bonus if he spends so we can get him hooked again. Right? And it's very, very fucking insidious. But, people do what they do so they can get their money. It is what it is. And so the Japanese gacha industry is having trouble. Square Enix recently announced that it will be discontinuing 2 of its decade-old mobile gacha games in Japan: Final Fantasy Brave Exvius and Dragon Quest of the Stars. If you don't know what Dragon Quest of the Stars is, this is basically the global launch gameplay trailer here. This is how the game is. It's a mobile game, as these gacha games tend to be. Even something like Genshin Impact is a mobile game. With the market growing saturated and development costs constantly rising, end of service announcements, which are, when a gacha game doesn't make money anymore, they kill the game. They shut down the servers. So that's an end of service announcement. End of service announcements are unfortunately nothing new in the industry. And developers in Japan are starting to feel like they can't expect much of a future from working on domestic mobile games. Moreover, according to some professionals who only have experience working on Japanese-style mobile games are having trouble finding work in other fields like console game development. Prompted by the recent announcements by Square Enix, mobile game developer Suemaru commented on Twitter. He says, Dragon Quest of the Stars, the game that you're seeing here on screen, and Final Fantasy Brave Exvius are shutting down. As someone active in the industry, I once again feel that gacha games are becoming like the Titanic. Staying in this industry means clinging to one of the limited spots on a sinking ship. I don't think all of it will go under, but the number of seats that can stay afloat will keep shrinking. If you're enjoying this video and you'd like to see bigger and better content, the only thing you need to do is hit subscribe and like, and I'll take care of the rest. Japan's mobile scene has long-running hits like Fate Grand Order, Monster Strike, Puzzles and Dragons that have managed to stay profitable for over a decade. And these are the limited seats. But even the companies behind them, like Puzzle and Dragons developer Gun Ho, have struggled to produce any new hits in the meantime. And this goes to show you how hard it is to, when these games become so ingrained, how hard it is for new products to be released that are actually successful as well. Sort of like Google. You know, Google was there in the early days of the search engine, and they kind of took off, and then nobody ever caught up. Nobody could ever catch up. Even Microsoft spent billions on Bing, and Bing is nothing compared to Google, right? In terms of market share, this is a similar situation. Moreover, recent high-budget projects like Aniplex's Drive 9 has suffered shutdowns in mere months following launch. So even spending like kind of like Bing, even spending a whole bunch of money and having this super high budget, super premium experience like Drive 9 is not a guarantee of success. And this reminds me as well of what Riot tried to do with their collectible card game, their online, which is kind of a gacha game because it basically is. It's a card game, and it is called, because it's still alive, I believe. It's just kind of more on like a pseudo life support situation. It's called Runes or Heroes of Runeterra, I believe it is. Something of Runeterra. And that game was super high budget compared to Hearthstone and, you know, other competitors. Super high budget card game. Like intense animations, beautiful game, beautiful graphics, beautiful everything. And it still didn't manage to dethrone Hearthstone. Everybody still kept playing Hearthstone and other games like it, the ones that are popular. And it's a similar situation. You can't just spend your money to victory. Even though I think that Runeterra was a freaking excellent game and way better than Hearthstone, as somebody who spent a lot of time on both. Amidst such circumstances, Suemaro feels like his career has reached a limit. Even if I continue as a gacha game director, I won't see my income grow. I also don't know how long I'll even have my seat for. On the other hand, he doesn't see an easy path towards changing fields. Alloy, representative of Indie US Games, a Japanese company specializing in Unreal Engine game development, adds that it's already so hard to get off the sinking ship, and yet the industry is clearly in a decline. Moving from Japanese-style mobile game development into console game development is very difficult, even though the opposite is simple. People who've built their careers in mobile games are facing an extremely troubling situation. Suemaro confirms that this is precisely the problem that he is now dealing with, as 100% of his career has been involved managing online mobile games. This seems to be an issue that particularly affects Japanese devs working as mobile game planners, which is a position similar to a game designer in the US. Johnny Game Studio comments, the people in planning positions at mobile game companies have skills that aren't easily transferable to console games or other fields. So they can't switch jobs, unlike an artist and programmer. Part of the issue also stems from technological requirements. As Alui explains, the console sector values skills in complex, polished action gameplay and high-end graphics technology. These are skills that you can apply as is to mobile games. But for mobile games, server technology is indispensable. Yet, it's not essential for console games, so demand is low. Console games have also strict technical requirement checks imposed by the platform holders, which makes prior experience a huge advantage. These technical requirement checks, by the way, are just kind of stuff that like Sony, like if you want to publish on PlayStation, you have to follow all their protocols. And a lot of times people think it's a performance thing. It's not really a performance thing. There's been a lot, and I mean a lot since like the PlayStation 1 days. There's been a lot of underperforming games in terms of like horrible FPS, right? Just horrible frame times, laggy, all this stuff. It's not really about performance. It's about making sure that you're following Sony's priorities. And their priorities are making you feel like this is a PlayStation game. So a big one that people have cited before, developers have cited, is making sure that if you're publishing a game on PlayStation, that it does not have any Xbox buttons. On PC, it doesn't matter, right? But on PlayStation, they absolutely require. And if they see any Xbox button or any Xbox prompt or anything that reminds somebody that this is not a PlayStation or that you're maybe playing on an Xbox, they'll instantly deny your game. This is something that I believe Ubisoft's COD competitor, which shut down. What was that game called? It shut down. I played it for a bit too. Ran into this was a game that ran into this issue where it's like something stupid like that is the reason that why they got their their release date pushed back on PlayStation because Sony was like, no, this is showing like Xbox buttons. So back to the article. Given that Japanese companies often very clearly distinguish between new hires, freshly graduated young employees whom the company trains from zero as a future investment, and mid-career hires who are expected to be experienced and immediately fill a vacancy, this puts mobile game veterans wishing to switch to console gaming in an undesirable position. Such individuals are unfortunately likely to increase in the future. According to a survey by the Japan's Online Game Association, the domestic online game market was worth an estimated $7.4 billion in 2024, a steady decline from 2023's $10.8 billion. Meanwhile, average mobile game development costs in 2024 rose to about $3.3 million per title, 4.7 times higher than 10 years ago. Now, there's a lot of people who are probably thinking to themselves, who are used to console gaming, would look at this and say, $3.3 million per title? That's fucking nothing. You know, even like $40 million per title, even like a game like Alan Wake 2, I think Alan Wake 2 was like 60 million or something like that, was a low budget for a big console game like that, right? And so it's like 3 million, that's nothing. That's like PS2 game money. It's like when like people used to make PlayStation 2 games. But as it says there, that's almost 5 times higher than it was 10 years ago. Could you imagine prices rising 5 times higher than they are now for PlayStation 6 games compared to PlayStation 5 games? That's how bad this is. So combined with the effect of market oversaturation and strong competition from high-budget publishers in China and South Korea, Japan's domestic gacha game market will likely have a difficult time regaining its momentum. So there you have it. That's the story there. It's kind of crazy how you know, an industry that people think, and this is Japan too, like an industry like Japan has had one of the first big gacha games in Fate Grand Order. Like that game is still going, is still farming money off of people like crazy. But it's kind of crazy to see an industry that people assume that where all the money is made, struggling like this. And it goes to show you, you know, like nothing is forever. Eventually some things are trend, right? And eventually, like the quote goes, how's it go? Like the only thing you can guarantee is change. Like there's nothing that you can predict other than things changing, right? That's a constant in life. But that doesn't mean that the gacha industry is done. After all, this is just a Japanese gacha industry. And we're seeing a lot of competition from Chinese developers, South Korean developers, right? And even some Western developers that are trying to get in on that still. So there's still going to be a lot of gacha games. This could be a trend of something that's happening in the future, and perhaps this will also move on to China and other places, because I really do think that just like MMOs, gacha games are something that you spend a lot of time in. And any game where you spend a lot of time in, it's a hard game for you to like leave for a new equivalent version of that. Like MMOs, like with World of Warcraft. Every time there was a new World of Warcraft killer, people would leave to go play that game, me included. And then like months later, everybody would just go back to World of Warcraft. Why? Because you've been playing World of Warcraft for years. That's where all your stuff is. That's where all your years of investment are. It's hard for you to like start over and just leave all of that behind. And that's what I think stuff like Roblox, stuff like Genshin Impact, stuff like Fortnite, they're in a really good position, because it's really hard for people to leave those games because they already invested so much and they may have so many skins and so many other friends are there. It's a very kind of viral experience, and it gains a critical mass where it's just hard to quit.
Subscribe and like.